Hi everybody, this is Buck WSR Weezer coming at you today with a new video, little project that I have going on. Now I need you to know that I have the privilege of being married to the Nancy of Nancy's Garden Soap. And I know some of you are following her on her channel, some of you are following me on mine, and today we are collaborating on a special project to build another wooden soap mold. Alright, so the project today is to build a soap mold very much like the one that I previously built, and I had another video on this after I had it all put together, but today I'm going to show you step by step how to build a soap mold like this. And the one request that Nancy has is, with this soap mold, she's been able to cut like 19 bars of soap, and she wants to at least get 22 bars. So we're going to make the next one a little bit bigger than this one, but it's going to be the exact same style and layout. So let me walk you through those steps. Also, we have the loudest dishwasher in the world. Can you hear that in the background?
Yes.
Alright, so what I did is I went out to the Home Depot and I bought a board like this one here on the table. Okay, this is a 1 by 10, 6 foot long, 1 by 10 piece of pine. I bought it at the Home Depot. It was $10.77 plus tax. And from this board, we're going to cut all the pieces that we need to make it. And I've already outlined the pieces, but before I show you it on the board, I want to show it to you on the paper. All right, so I've sketched out on this paper the size of the pieces that we need to cut from this piece of pine board. Now the size of the loaf that we want to make a mold that will make a loaf size that's 22 inches long, 2.5 inches wide, and 4.5 inches high. So to do that, we're going to need a base, we're going to need 2 sides, 2 end caps, and 4 end cap stops. And we can cut them all out of this one pine board. Now let's talk about the base. Since we want the soap loaf to be 22 inches long, our base needs to be 2 inches longer than that, or 24 inches. It also needs to be 4 inches wider than the 2.5 inch wide soap loaf. So we're going 6.5 inches wide by 24 inches long. The sides are going to be 4.5 inches tall and 22 inches long, because they're going to be exactly the length of the loaf that we want to make. The end caps are going to be 6.5 inches wide, 4.5 inches tall. Our end cap stops are going to be 4.5 inches tall by about 1 inches. And in addition to these pieces of board, you'll need a couple of sets of hinges, some wood screws, and a few tools which I'll talk to you about momentarily. Now that we've determined the dimensions of the pieces we need, I've taken a pencil and a drywall T-square and measured them out on this board. I started with the base, 6.5 inches wide by 24 inches long. You'll see that I actually sketched out lightly the inner dimensions of the soap loaf. So we've got an extra inch at each end of the loaf and 2 inches on each side. Also down here, I've drawn out I called them end cap stops. Those are going to be these pieces that we attach with wood screws to the end caps. Alright, so sliding the board down, the next section of board is where I've made the 2 sides, 22 inches long, 4.5 inches wide. This board, they call it a 1 by 10, but it's really just a hair longer than 9 inches. So I just cut that, I'm just going to cut that right in half, and we'll have our 2 sides. And then the final section is our 2 end caps that are 6.5 inches long by 4.5 inches high. Now, I do not have a table saw, I do not have a radial arm saw, so it's very hard to get perfectly straight cuts, because all I have is a circular saw, this guy right here. And it's hard to get really straight cuts with that. So I am but you need straight cuts for some of the places. particularly the bottom where it meets the base, where the sides meet the base, where the end caps meet the base. You need them to be nice and tight that you can, with straight cuts, so that it doesn't leak. So I'm counting on the factory edge, the straight edge is cut from the mill, the saw mill. Those will be the parts where I make that, where I'm counting on to have my straightest cuts. So this edge here, which will be the top edge of the loaf, of the mold, that's not so crucial. All right, so the next step will be to cut out these pieces, and I'll go do that outside. I'm not permitted to do it here in the dining room, sorry. And then I'll come back and we'll start putting it together. Well, our pieces are cut and laid out here on the table. Here's the base. Here are the two sides, and here are the two end caps, and then the 4 end cap stops. Now, at my wife's suggestion, it was a good idea, I wrote the letter B on the bottom. That's the part that's going to come in contact with the base, because that's where we want the nice straightest cut and the straightest edge. So I marked the B here. All right, so what remains is doing a little sanding. I think I could get away with that on the kitchen table, but it's easy enough to clean up. So you'll want to sand them off good, especially the edges where you've cut. I'll spend a little time doing that, and then we'll come back and start assembling. Okay, our pieces are cut and sanded, and now we are going to start by building the end caps. Those are these that hold the mold together, the soap mold together. Now the opening of our soap mold is 2.5 inches, plus the width of our two sides. So we need to measure we need to add 2.5 inches to the width of 2 boards, which is 1.5 inches, in other words, a total of 4. So we're going to have to put our spacers on the end cap. The end cap stops, not spacers, the end cap stops 4 inches apart. So here's how we'll do it. We are going to measure to the middle point of this board. And the middle point, and the board is 6.5. So the middle point will be 3.25. 1, 2, 3.25. I'm marked there. Now I'm going to add 2 inches, 5.25, in both directions, 1.25. So these two marks should be 4 inches apart. And we are going to use the T-square to draw vertical lines in both of those spots. And it will be at those lines where we attach our end cap stops. All right? So our end cap stops are going to go here and here. Now I've already used a pencil to mark 3 places where I want to drill hole and put 1.25 screws through to hold these end cap stops in place. On this particular board we've got a knot, so I'm going to put my 3 screws just below that, because attempting to drill into and screw into that knot would be a real pain. Alright, so I'm going to use a drill bit to drill the pilot holes. 3/32 is what I'm going with. Now I'm going to go all the way through the caps and only partially into the
You're doing this on my table?
So I'm going. Well, I did at the table. Didn't I? All right, so I'm going to go all the way through there. Now I'm going to put this in place where I want it. All right, now I'm going to go through those same holes and drill a little bit into the board below. Okay, so those are drilled, and now before I drill the other side, I'm going to take out the bit, put in the Phillips head, and we are going to take some 1¼ and drill these into place. Screw these into place. Uno! And of course we have our pencil line that's guiding us. Dos! Little Spanish lingo there for you. Okay, so do you see how I did that? Uno, dos, tres. So I'm going to do the same on this side. Then I'm going to do the same on this side, and then the end caps will be ready. I don't think you need to watch me do it on all of those, so we'll pause the video and then we'll come back when it's time to attach the sides to the base. It's now time to connect the sides to the base using the hinges. Now, since we have already outlined the inner part of the mold, we're going to take this side, and I got B, that's the nice straight edge cut from the sawmill, the bottom, and I'm going to line it right up where it goes on the mold, and we're going to put the hinges on. Now what I did is, just so that they both go in a symmetrical pattern, what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure 5½ inches from each end, and I'm going to make that the center part of the hinge. So I'm measuring 5½ inches, made a little mark. Alright, so you put your hinge in place and trace out the holes. I'm going to fasten the hinges to the base before I fasten them to the sides. So we're going to do that part first. Make them. Alright, so we can move this out of the way. We've got the 1, 2, 3 locations where we're going to drill small pilot holes. The hinges says to use a 1/16 inch drill bit to make your pilot holes, because these are just tiny little screws. Alright, here we go. Put a couple of right in the center of that circle. Just down a 1/4 inch or so to drill the pilot hole. Alright, there's the one. Alright, so now we switch over to the Phillips bit, and we are going to attach the hinges to the base. From what I understand, the soap maker's hoping to use this even tonight. Make a batch of soap. Okay, that one's in. Put the second one in. Go get them all started before I tighten them down. I'm trying to do it in such a way that you can see what I'm doing instead of putting my big fat fingers in the way, but I'm sure I can do that. Patience, grasshopper. Okay. Okay, so the hinges on the one side are now fastened to the base. And obviously I have to do it for both sides, but right now we're working on this one side. So we're going to line this guy back up. Use our pencil and mark where these holes are going to go. And down here. 1, 2, 3. Put the drill back in. We'll drill our pilot holes and connect them. Back to the Phillips bit. All right.
Do you need help holding this?
I don't know.
Looks kind of challenging.
Sure does. Might be easier with just a regular Phillips head screwdriver instead of this drill, but there's one there. Let's try one down this end.
That's better.
A little easier to get it started. The drill's a little awkward. Okay. Good job. So this is the kind of project that you can do it in a couple hours time in an evening. I mean, that's what I'm doing. Okay,
Nice.
so the one side,
Cool.
it's hinged. And that feels like it meets really snugly against the base. All right, so I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, and then we'll come back for our last segment of putting it all together. All right, so the soap mold is finished. The sides are in place. They hinge open. The end caps are in place. The last thing I have to show you is the method we use for keeping it all together when you're using it, and that is with this. I guess it's a luggage strap. What's it say on it? Samsonite. Yeah, so it's a luggage strap. It's an adjustable length, so you can make it. It holds your soap mold together till such a time as you're ready to open it up. Then just a matter of taking it off. End caps come off. Sides go down.
Ta-da.
Ta-da.
Looks good.
So there you have it. We made it in a couple hours time here on an evening. And now it's time to make some soap. You can do this with a piece of lumber and a few basic tools. And now that I've shown you how, I am Buck WSR Weezer, collaborating with Nancy's Garden Soap. Please subscribe to my channel.
And mine.
She has enough subscribers. And thank you for watching.